Man, look, listen, what's going on, folks? It's your boy, Money Mac, coming back to you again from you already know what it is, the set. Hey, and today, bruh, I had to make this video. It's been on my brain for some time, and I felt like now is the perfect time to make this video. Why? Because we had a heated debate or discussion in one of my previous videos, which to this date is probably my most popular video posted. And it's sitting somewhere around 20,000 views and a gang of comments. Those comments were interesting. In that video, we talked about some clown who said that people over 40 shouldn't wear Jordan sneakers, right? Sparked a heated debate. The conversations were juicy, right? But I felt like I needed to make this video because the majority of the comments that were made about that video is that we, being 80s babies and 90s, or even back before the 80s, to say the late 70s, we ushered in this sneaker culture, right? And not to mention, we grew up watching MJ play live in his heyday, and who is someone to tell us that we can't wear whatever we want to wear? I know it sounds preposterous, but people say things on the internet just to say things. Now, I say all that to say this video, we are actually going to get into the sneakers by decades. Everybody has done their video or their Mount Rushmore of sneakers, or they had a bracket style system of which they rank their sneakers, right? Most of the time, those videos are done when they're talking about their sneaker of the year, right? This video, we're going to take it a step further. We're going to go by the decades, and we're going to go from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, and we're going to let the audience determine who, in fact, had the better sneakers, the 80s decade, the 90s, or the 2000s. I know, it's crazy, but you'll be surprised at what sneakers dropped and the impact that they had on the culture when they dropped. So again, I'll leave that up to you guys in the comment section to let me know what you think the best decade was for sneaker releases. I'm gonna quit talking, bruh. Let's get at it. Now, let's kick this thing off in the 80s, bruh. This is the decade where the ushering of hip hop and sneaker culture was birthed, where style met the streets, streets met style. We made style in this decade. And it was this decade that sneakers became a part of a cultural identity. And we all know what we had in the 80s, right? We had the birth of the Jordan era, right? 1985, right? But it just wasn't about Jordans in this decade. We had the birth of Air Max. Yes, we had the birth of Air Max with the Air Max 1 coming out in 1987. Woo, while I was 7 years old. But, bruh, we had a gang of sneakers that actually came out in the 80s that we still hold near and dear to us this day. Some of the most notable sneakers in the 80s would be the Jordan 1, the Jordan 3, the Nike Dunk actually came out in the 80s, the Adidas Forum, the Jordan 4, the New Balance 996, and the Nike Airship, which we all know all of those sneakers are still, okay, maybe not the Jordan 1, but those sneakers are still in heavy rotation to this day. And the Jordan 1 being probably Nike Jordan brand most retro, and 40,000 different colorways in that sneaker alone make it probably the most popular Jordan brand sneaker. Not by merit of hype beast. We're just speaking on general terms as that sneaker being retro in 1,000 different colorways, and Nike not really ever giving us the ones we actually want. Chicago's again. But yeah, those sneakers actually came out in the 80s. Now you could say that those sneakers probably set the trend for this culture that we have now. So just remember that when you're thinking about that decade in the 80s and what kind of heat they had came out in the 80s and that we're still wearing to this day. Now, as we jump into the 90s sneaker scene, it definitely exploded with innovation and bold designs, to say the least. The Jordan line continued to soar with new models each year, becoming a cultural phenomenon. We all know this. Meanwhile, the Air Max series evolved with classics such as the Air Max 90, the Air Max 95, and the most notable of the series, including the Air Max 97. I'm just kidding. But notable sneakers during that period are the Nike Huaraches, the Air Jordan 5, the Air Jordan 6, the Air Jordan 11. We're going to stay away from the Jordan brand for a second and go with the Asics Gel Light 3s. Again, the Nike Air Max 90s, 95, 97, the Nike Air Foamposites. And not to be outdone, Reebok Kamikazes, Sean Kemp's, I know y'all remember those. The Reebok Question started that series for AI and his signature sneakers, right? But again, those are just some of the sneakers that was in the 90s that was popping. But again, Reebok wasn't far behind making waves either in the 90s. We mentioned the Kamikazes, we mentioned the Questions. Now, the Reebok Pump was also birthed in the 90s, which allowed us to customize the fit with the internal mechanism of the pump, right? And let's not forget what we already said, the Foamposites, which they came out in 1997. These sneakers were definitely ahead of their time. And again, foams are back. We just had a couple releases and we all know what those eggplant Foamposites did, right? They also came with a hefty price tag, which started some of the crazy pricing sculptures and features that Nike have endowed on us these last few years. Now, we absolutely must take a pause and pay tribute to the legacy of Allen Iverson, right? And the effect that he had on the culture with his Reebok signature line, starting with the Question and evolved with the Answer series throughout the rest of his career. So as you can see, the 90s had some heat, bruh. So if you was thinking this competition or this discussion was going to be one of them ones where, oh, we already know the answer to, I beg to differ. I mean, the 80s decade ushered it in and the 90s took it and ran with it. So again, I'm going to leave that up to you guys in the comment section to debate on which one hold the most weight, which decade had the best sneaker releases. And we have yet to get to the 2000s yet. But again, the 90s wasn't nothing to snuff at either, man. As you could tell, it has some heavy hitters in there. So, I don't know, man. Let's get at the 2000s. In the 2000s, we had the LeBron sneakers. We had Kobe sneakers. We had a slew of other basketball sneakers that came out. We had new innovations in the Air Max line for the 2000s, right? But we can't miss the mark and not bring up the Yeezy Adidas line as far as cultural relevance in the 2000s. I would be remiss to just leave that out of the conversation because the Yeezy brand at Adidas was one of the most, I would say, cultural, impactful sneaker collaborations with an artist / designer in recent history. Now, since its inception in 2015, up until, I want to say, a year ago, before the whole Ye debacle, those shoes were so sought after, so limited that sometimes some of these resellers quit their daytime job just to buy Yeezys and resell them on the aftermarket, and they were making upwards of 6 figures a year reselling Yeezys. So is the Yeezy brand enough to carry the 2000s when we talk about this debate of sneakers and cultural relevance and which decade had the most impact on the culture. Which decade had the dopest sneakers? Which decade has had the most retro sneakers when we talk about our culture that we love near and dear? From the Air Jordans that leaped off the court to the Air Maxes that cushioned everybody's feet, each decade brought something special to the sneaker world. But which era reigned supreme? 80s, 90s, 2000s? That's for you to decide. Let me know down in the comment section, because you know I'm always starting some kind of shit here on the internet. And we ain't doing it for clicks. I just want to know what y'all think. Who had the best era when it comes to sneakers? I will tell you what I think, but I think it's pretty apparent what I think. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Thanks for joining me, man, in this stroll down memory lane. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, man, and comment which one you think is your favorite decade and why. Until next time, keep those laces tied and your kicks fresh. I'm your boy, Money Matt. I'm going to get on out of here and go do something important with my life, man. I'll holler at y'all. Peace.